Everyone, welcome to another episode of Hashtag Ask Jim number 76, and probably it's going to be a little bit off the normal track of programming of what we normally do for obvious reasons. So I'll get into it straight away. Just letting everyone know Jim's HQ here from midnight tonight is closed, so 6 weeks for staff. And obviously
all online. We're functioning, but we're not here.
Correct. So yeah, all online, which is why we've closed the shop as well. So people ordering monopolies and stuff, you're going to have to wait because we can't physically be here to post them and various things like that. So make sure, guys, who are watching, there's 123 people watching now, leave your comments and questions tonight in the Jim's Group page. If you're watching on the mowing pages or anywhere else, Jim's Group page, please, so we can see them in real time, and we'll try and get to as many as we can. Please be respectful, and we'll try and work our way down there. So let's get into it, Jim. Do you want to maybe just start off with, in general today, how's today been? With everything going on, I guess?
Interesting. I spoke more to the media in the last day or so than I have normally in a typical decade. I mean,
it's been more national coverage, as you said, in a decade than anything else, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been huge, and inboxes flooded, mostly with messages of support. Actually, I've had so many saying, "Jim, you're a legend. It's fantastic. Thanks for standing up for the little guy." I mean, so much of that. Actually, some of it from franchisees, but most of it from outsiders.
Yeah, we've had members of the public emailing and sending messages and stuff as well. I think 170 people are tuning in now, Jim, which is great. So hopefully all the franchisees and Zors are there. Please ask questions as well, guys, and we'll get there as well. Okay, let's keep going down here. So a lot of people tuning in saying g'day. All right, someone said, did you invite Dan on tonight? David McDonald? Definitely.
Yes.
Okay, then Simo in Bessett's gone, just suspended my franchise today. So that's from Simo. He must be a franchisee in Melbourne Metro. He said, just suspended my franchise today, which is in response to it. A few people.
Well, we have actually, as most of the mowing guys will know, we have suspended all the mowing franchisees in Melbourne because it's really just too much pressure from government to continue. I think it's outrageous, actually, the whole thing. I think it's illegal what he's done. I think it's appalling. I think our franchisees, particularly in mowing and anybody works outside, present pretty well zero rate of infection to the public. And I think what the Premier's done is throwing tens of thousands of people out of work or into massive confusion is an awful thing to do. We always obeyed the law. If the guidelines were there, we would absolutely. When New Zealand locked down all of our services, we suspended everybody. There was no hassle at all. I didn't agree with the decision. I don't think it really helped, but we obeyed the law. The problem is this tremendous difference between the clear guidelines, Stage 4 guidelines sent out by the government, by the Department of Health and Human Services, and then the Premier coming in and contradicting totally everything that was said.
And that's where the main crux of the confusion was, wasn't it? We weren't taking a stand against it in any way. You're just doing what the thing was saying.
We did not ever, I've never suggested that we should breach Stage 4 guidelines. We should do everything possible to halt this thing. But the Premier was completely at odds with his own guidelines from his own department.
So that was the crux. If the guidelines specifically said, as you said, that would have been no issue. Wouldn't have even got to this.
I wouldn't have objected. I would have thought it was a bad decision, but we wouldn't afford it. But the way he's done it is appalling.
And the example's New Zealand, isn't it, with what happened in NZ?
Yeah. We did that. We closed everybody down. We closed the call centre. We suspended all fees. We did everything absolutely by the book.
So, guys, there's 260 people now on, which is great. If you're franchisees and franchisors especially, please leave a comment or question in the Jim's Group one so we can see it. We'll work our way down. If you're on the mowing page, leaving comments and stuff, and not ignore them, just hard to see them in real time. Chuck them in the Jim's Group page. So Steve Dunne's got anything of all in Victoria in these tough times, stay strong. Going to be hard for franchisees to keep working, tough times for all involved.
Yeah, I feel so sorry. I've had so many franchisees writing to me, just terrible stories of how badly they're going to be affected by this. What can I do? I just feel so bad for them.
The ones who just started as well.
Yes.
We had one, Chris from Jim's Cleaning, who come to the store yesterday. He just started 2 weeks.
I had a mowing guy who's just started off taking heavy loans out, got all these repayments. What on earth is he going to do? He just doesn't know how he's going to survive the next 6 weeks. If it is only 6 weeks, we don't know. It could go for another 6 weeks. The Premier can do whatever he likes, apparently. It's really heartrending to hear these stories.
And Matt Barr's gone, it's so sad that one gets demonised for looking after their employees, franchisees, in this day and age. Sharon Connell says, hi, Jim, thank you for all your hard work. You have been working very, very hard. And then here we go, Bree Lance. Some people were so rude on the phones. I must work in the call centre. Maybe Bree. I can apologise for that. Unfortunately,
it's been tough on the girls in the call centre too. You get some idiots who ring up who just want to have a go. All I can say is the people who object tend to be those with nice, fat, comfortable jobs, like in Spring Street or somewhere. They just have no understanding of what it's like to be out there in the workforce. And actually, our guys are relatively privileged because their incomes tend to be pretty good normally. But there's a lot of people out there in the industry who just are really, really on the edge. And what's happened, what the Premier's done to them is a disaster.
Well, they had interviewed in the story they did with you last, and they had an independent bloke on at the end as well, and they were talking to him, and I felt sorry for him and as well, especially. Malcolm Bradley says Jim's mowing got a great plug on the national radio station today about the thing. Malcolm's in NZ. Hayden Knoll says his Jim's operating tomorrow.
Well, obviously we're operating the rest of the country, but Jim's mowing... Metro is shut down. And obviously there's divisions like dog wash in Melbourne is shut down. There's no question because the Stage 4 guidelines specifically do not include dog wash, as an example. The building inspections are shut down. So there's divisions there's no question about. It's really the mowing and cleaning divisions in particular that have been affected by this, that I think very unfairly and wrongly.
There's 270 people tuning on now, which is great. Please chuck your comments and questions in there, guys. We'll try and get to as many as we can. Head to Sutherland High. There is a Jim's car cleaning service in Rockhampton, Queensland, or truck cleaning services? Absolutely. There's car detailing up in Queensland. Okay, here we go. Nicole Callan, this is a great question. What happens to the NDIS customers for cleaning? Can we still go out?
You can. There's a form that you can fill in with yourself as the employer and the employee that may work. But the trouble is nobody knows the guidelines. They're pretty clear in what's officially gone out. But the Premier can step in at any time and just totally contradict it. So nobody knows. People are ringing up their state MPs saying, what's the guidelines? What can I do? Haven't got a clue. Even people who in Parliament don't even know what the government's doing. So there's total confusion. And I'd love to be able to give you guidance, but I can't. All I can say is what the law says, which is, yes, you can operate. You can operate a cleaning business, especially if people... But who knows what the government... The police can stop you and they can say, oh, Dan Andrews has said we're going to arrest you or we're going to fine you with a huge amount of money for doing it, even though the guidelines say you can. Who knows?
And then there's a couple of unrelated ones here real quickly for you, Jim. Shane Major's gone, hello, I contracted Jim's. Can you please explain why tree work leads went from $15 to $49? Cheers.
For Jim's Plus.
That's you just said that in for Jim's. Why did they go from 15 to 49? Because
what's happened, Jim's Plus is the overflow work from Jim's going to be independent contractors, and the principle is they have to be charged at least as much as our guys do for leads. That's the reason. So 305 people watching now, which is great. We're going to whip through these questions, so keep putting them in there, guys, and we'll work our way down. Kurt Hudson, hey Jim and Joel, do the contractors pay people off the books with cash in hand or not? Well, we wouldn't know. That's up to... How would we know? Exactly. We would never, ever be in a situation where we would advise anybody to take cash. And I think it's less and less common these days. And it's particularly with the virus, it's a really bad idea. Very risky to take cash, isn't it? Very risky to take cash. And generally speaking of your own business, you've got pretty good deductions. Your vehicle, part of your rent, your phone, a whole stack of things. You can split the income with your partner. So... But, we know what goes on. What can I say? And Kelly Burgess, are you guys still open? Vic Metro's been affected, but everywhere else in Australia and New Zealand and Canada? Absolutely we are, yeah. All right, let's keep going down here as well. So Kurt Hudson, thanks for that question. Just trying to get there. Oh, here we go. Nicole Callanan, will you suspend fees now we are in stage 4? Question mark. Yes, any franchisee in a division that can't work, and that includes ones like mowing in Melbourne, and dog wash, and of course we'll suspend the fees. All the franchisees' fees, not only that, but the franchisor fees will be suspended too. So we're not going to bill the franchisors for when they're receiving no income. Of course we would. And Katie Reading says, sending all the best wishes to franchisees from Dog Wash. Absolutely. Dog Wash has been on the front foot today with a lot of announcements for their customers. Luke O'Neill says, completely agree with everything you have said, Jim. Love what you stand for. Such a shame that there are so many out there who are so informed and make dumb comments without actually knowing what's going on. There's been a lot of support in the community, actually. The under Channel 7, the actual comments were about 60% against, 40% in favour, but the likes were overwhelmingly more in favour. So it's kind of... There's a lot of people out who agree. They're maybe not as noisy as the ones that disagree. But I was monitoring to 1am, and that's what I was telling you this morning, wasn't it, when we showed it to you. So there was a lot more outrage in the comments, but we actually showed the reaction ratio. And there was more people for likes than, let's say, the angry emoji, for example. So I think a lot of people are actually fed up with what's happened. I don't know that the Premier has as much support as he thinks he does. And then someone says, you're a legend, mate, keep it up. Malcolm Bradley says, Jim's mum kind of got a great plug on national radio station today here in NZ, along with the Jim's Monopoly. Wow. So that is really good to hear. For what, though? Is it for what we... I don't know. Here? I must have leveraged into Jim's Monopoly somehow. So, Michael Vella, can fencing continue? Question mark from Michael Vella. Can fencing continue? Who knows? Construction is allowed to continue. So, based on the actual guidelines, I'd say yes. Based on the Premier's whim, who knows? I'd say check with your divisional and maybe make some calls as well. I don't know if we can... Well, your divisional is Arch, so what do you say? Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is, As far as we're concerned, you can continue because the stage 4 guidelines say that you can, quite clearly say that you can. But as I said, the Premier could overrule that tomorrow, so we've got no idea.
And the Rachel man has gone, it's only 6 weeks. That's really a positive attitude, absolutely.
6 weeks is a long time for some people to be without income, and that's if it is controlled in that period of time. What really infuriates me about this is the mess that the Premier's made of it, and it's basically his fault. It's the quarantine fiasco that's caused this outbreak. There's really no other reason why Victoria's done so much worse than the rest of the country except for that. And he's the one who started it, and he's still messing up the state.
And Peter Jones has gone, are you consider reducing franchise fees once we are able to go back to work? Are you going to consider reducing franchise fees? No, not at all, because you're going to be so busy. If you can work 100 hours a week, you work 100 hours a week. Absolutely not. Why would we reduce them when you're making the income of your life? When you're not working, we get no income at all. And 330 people are tuning in now, which is great. So keep leaving your comments and questions, guys. We'll work from the top. Then Paul has always gone, how is this affecting fencing? Question mark.
As I said, stage 4 guidelines suggest that you can, yes. I'd suggest that you just keep on doing it until the Premier comes in and decides to shut you down as well. But until that time, keep on going.
And then John Render's gone, I was worried a gentleman walked past and said we should be called Karen's mowing. So I think there's a bit of a meme going around online, Karen's mowing. I think I'll blow over John. I know how this stuff goes. It's generally something come up tomorrow, and I feel sorry for some of the franchisees feeling that way. But
yeah, some franchisees feel it's damaging. I think it's a fairly small minority who are negative, and there's an awful lot of people who are positive and are saying, good on you. It's not as one-sided as you might think. I think in the end we'll probably get a boost out of this. I know that sounds strange right now, but they so know any publicity is good publicity. And
well, number 3 on Twitter today in Australia. Yeah, and that's a first for gyms.
Our name is all over the place. And a famous example is Tylenol, which is a painkiller, and it had a disaster many years ago when somebody tampered and they put poison into it, and it was really terrible. And the company withdrew all the Tylenol. They paid everything. They completely redesigned the bottle to make it tamper-proof, and they put it out again. And it was the best thing ever happened to them. Their sales actually went through the roof because of name recognition. So it's strange. How can poisoning people with your pill cause you to have a fantastically improved market? But that's what happened. And I believe the same thing with gyms, actually. A lot of people are in favour of us. Some people may cancel their services. Mind you, if you can't work anyway, so what's the point? But I think in the long run, it'll probably do us some good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is just when I feel sorry for reading the comments and stuff, but just it's a lot of vitriol and it's a lot of similar type of things going on with those. So just don't get too worked into it. Kelly Birch says, I'd love to book in prepay if that helps at all when they reopen. I'd love to support my local franchise. I'm in Rowville. Prepay. So prepaying for gyms services.
Anything that can be done to help our people through this difficult time would be great. I'd say take it easy. Have a good rest, spend all your time with your family, and when we come out of lockdown, you're going to be so busy. You just got to be prepared to work, any hours to catch up on the income, to catch up on the work.
Now, Eric Jurgen's gone, Melbourne Metro can apply for the $10,000 grant from the government. Maybe gyms could sort of give them some information on how to help them out with that. Yeah,
there is some information we're going to pass around about this kind of thing. The bookkeeping division has some stuff about grants and things, yeah.
And then Julie Baldry said, I had an independent gardener from Ringwood said the council gardeners are still allowed to work. And he asked me to let you know that. So.
Absolutely, yeah, that's right. That's the insanity of the whole thing. If you're actually a council gardener, somehow you're an essential service, but someone looking after NDIS or elderly clients is not considered essential. It's the absurdity of the whole system, the sheer insanity, the inconsistency of it.
And then David Don says the problem with cash is your business is worth nothing if you have no income to prove you make a living. Well, that's a very good point.
It's also a problem with insurance too.
Correct.
You've got a person who has accident insurance and they've got an income of $2,000 a week or whatever it is, $3,000 a week or whatever, and then the insurance company they have to break their leg, and the insurance company says, "I can prove your income." Well, I've only made $600 a week. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, what can you do?
Then James Thompson says, Jim's fencing 3 days into a job and it required 2 days to complete. Can I continue the job?
Yes.
The fencing is for security. I think you can if you started a job.
Basically, construction is okay. The Premier just as I said, there's no logic to it. He just decided to hit mowing and cleaning.
He says, no, Simo's gone, no new construction can start, only exiting, I think. So I don't know. Existing.
That possibly applies to a fence, yes.
Yeah. Then Helen's gone, Raygat just asked if he has a working permit to work at his local school grounds, which he has a contract for. Can he work? Let's get the permit. I'll just check maybe. I don't know. This is the confusion, isn't it?
Yeah, the trouble is when you can't rely on official guidelines, what can you rely on? I mean, what can I say? We don't know. Nobody knows. State members of parliament don't know. Bureaucrats don't know. Nobody knows. The Premier will decide on a minute-by-minute basis what's going to happen, and nobody has any say apart from that.
And someone from the YouTube channel's gone, it's in the FAQs regarding Victoria, can I have my lawns mowed or home cleaned? No. Well, yep, that's what we're saying as well. The travel centre with something unrelated. Whose idea was it to make the Jim's Monopoly game? Got to shout a beer for somebody.
Eugene, our brilliant head of security.
Yeah, he loves doing the security deficient emails. So
yeah, he's crazy about that sort of thing. He's always sending out fake emails to try and catch out the staff. And if you get caught, you put on the wall of shame. I've been caught once or twice, but not recently.
Very true. Waymar Wingard's going, Jim's Mowing Golf Harbour NZ. He's saying stay strong. I was in the same position 6 weeks into being a new owner in NZ. Went into lockdown. Starting to see some light now. It's tough. Yeah. So wishing you well. So that's a good point as well. The Dave McDonald says, we go through this every 10 years in a drought. Businesses can be down 20% in any 1 year. Stephen Ford, there is many confused people. Can you reassure regional customers that services continue as normal?
Well, it's only applying in Melbourne Metro, basically. So, yes, as far as we know at the moment. But again, that could change tomorrow. All we can say is right now there's no indication that you can't operate. But then again, I think if you're on stage 3, it's not an issue. It's only stage 4. We think the Premier is saying it's stage 4, but that's all I can say, yes.
The Nationally Relative's gone, hi, I'm in Deniliquin. Can I still get my grass mowed? Absolutely, you're in Deniliquin, I think it's NSW. So there's Denny Bushmasters up there. Sadeep Silva, hi, how about vacate cleaning with zero contact?
Of course that's sensible, but not according to what the Premier says. This is the point, there's no standards, there's no consistency anywhere.
The Nicole Callahan's gone here. Do you think if we drive our Jim's cleaning car, are we a target now? Question mark.
We could be. I mean, what can I say? The police may decide that Jim's cleaning is to be targeted as well as Jim's mowing. Who knows? It's terrible to say this, but when you can't rely on the law, when you can't rely on the official statements of government departments, then how do you know anything? Not even government ministers can probably tell you anything. Nobody can tell you anything because it depends on the whim of the Premier.
And I'll read this comment out. It's not a nice one. I'll read it out. Mikhail's gone here. All of us know you want for the franchisees to work to push them to pay the franchise fees. You don't want to lose money. You're selfish. Yeah,
except I get about 2% of what franchisees earn. Let me have a think about the franchisees who got the other 90%. And let's find it. I can last 6 weeks without the franchisees' income. How well do you think our franchisees are going to last? Many of them. Let's look who's in the most vulnerable position. Let's think of the ordinary people in society, not the well-heeled fat cats. Frankly, it's not going to worry me much at all, the loss of income. But it worries a lot of people that I know very, very badly. Let's consider them.
And the Malcolm brothers gone, the rock radio station DJs weren't sure if Jim was still alive. Well, he's here. And looking for contacting them and offering some Jim's Monopoly if they will promote the group as a whole. Send through an email to jim@jims.net or myself, Malcolm, and we can maybe arrange something as well. It's great to see the NZ guys getting involved.
Yeah, sure.
Amrik Singh. Hi, I'm Amrik from Jim's Cleaning South Geelong. Have a question like, how many workers can I carry in my car during stage 3 restrictions in Geelong? It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one exactly.
The normal thing, I think, is 2. And you should be one at the front, diagonally opposite. If you want more workers, you have to go in separate cars. That's basically the guideline.
But I'll check the websites, any official government websites, and Rick, they're just to me check. And you're in Geelong, so hopefully you're stage 3, yeah? Which will be okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then Ibrahim's gone, all I can say is that the only company stands by his franchisees. Great job, Jim.
Thank you.
Matt Shildren's gone, are leads only online now? Feel for the franchisees in Melbourne. I'm in rural Vic, so okay at the moment.
No, everything's going as normal. We should make sure we shut down all the mowing advertising. I'm sure we're doing that in Melbourne. But everything's going. Everything's working still. The call centre's still working offline, of course. Yeah. The websites are still working. We're going to be flooded with calls that we can't handle. There's just no way around it.
There's some streaming issue, guys, so stay tuned. We're going to work on it. Keep going. Let's keep going. It's just catching up. Hi, I've been working in the call centre for nearly 9 years now. My heart goes out to all the franchisees and your families. Hang in there, guys. We're all thinking of us.
We are.
And thanks for the great job in the call centre that our staff do. Greg Pete says, no Jim's Plumbing in Newcastle. No, there's not. Emma Burgess has gone, well done for standing up.
Thank you.
And Steve Donut's gone, if the call centre closes, how does that affect leads for us in other states?
No, it doesn't close.
Your legend, Jim, stay strong, buddy.
It's all off. It's all online. Actually, the call centre hasn't had anybody in there for weeks, even during stage 3. It's all online. It works amazingly well. Most of our national office was actually online. All the documents, software developers, most of accounts, they've been online for weeks, and now they're all online. So it really doesn't affect what we do at all.
And during the first thing, the call centre were preparing stuff there, and they were doing it all online, weren't they?
Yes, yeah.
So,
we're very well set up in an IT sense to go online. It's interesting, actually. Some people will not come back. Our software developers actually do more work at home than they did in the office, so, and they prefer it, so because they're all introverts. So it's going to change the way we operate long term.
And Simo Lenko's gone here. As I sit here filling out my job seeker application, I thank you for all your efforts you put in this week. Andrews is bin juice, and his 6 weeks will come soon enough. He was stubborn and wrong with golf and fishing and all the rest, and now he can't admit he's wrong there too. His time is ticking. Stay strong.
The way it's been handled is shocking. It's all right for 10,000 people to go to the streets of the city, and let's not do anything about that and cause mass infections. But for somebody to go and mow somebody's lawn by themselves, never touching or never talking to it, that's somehow going to be dangerous. Where's the consistency in this?
And then Pierre App's gone, thanks for your support, Jim. I wish Channel 7 put you in a better light, as I think they mad you looking like you were defying the rules.
Yes, which is completely untrue, and I made it totally clear. That's the problem with TV. They'll edit it in such a way that makes it seem like I'm defying the law. Not at all. I never ever done that. When New Zealand had a lockdown, we completely went along with it. I thought it was a bad idea, but we completely obeyed the law there. We shut the whole system down totally. We did what the government says. It's the inconsistency that's caused the problems here.
And Jim, you did 20 minutes, I reckon, of questions from Channel 7 and 10.
And they take like 30 seconds. And they pick what makes good theatre. That's all.
But saying that the recent one you did, I watched a few today, which went on to 7 News later on today, was when you were in your office, was a lot better in terms of they let you go a bit longer and provided a bit more content.
I've also learning to be a bit more of a politician. In other words, all the time you've got to make the same point again and again and again and again. And that works better.
Then Jenny Allen's gone, what if I cancel my services in Queensland?
Why would you cancel your services?
I would hope you wouldn't. I don't know why. Why would you? It's a local franchisee you're hurting. They're not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So we hope you don't, Jenny. Malcolm Bradley says this has to be a record with well over 300 online. Absolutely, I think it is a record. And Mal's gone here. How do we do quotations under stage 4 restrictions for fencing, as we do site inspections, especially for fence replacements?
There is a question of whether you can start a construction job. I have to say, somebody said you can finish it, but actually starting it could be a bit dicey. The only thing is, if you are, again, as I said, the guidelines say that if you're a sole operator working by yourself, then you're allowed to operate regardless of any other conditions. So that's what the actual guidelines from the government say. Again, who knows what the Premier will say. But at the moment, just act as if the guidelines are the law of the land, which of course they are.
And then Larry's gone here. If there is an issue with this is another unrelated question. If there is an issue with a security camera system you've installed whereby the fault is your setup and it can't be resolved by your company, do you provide a customer with a refund?
If it's our fault, we'll refund anything. I mean, obviously, we stand behind our product. We've got a thing called a warranty fund, which actually is, we give out hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, actually. And it's funded when franchisees start. They put a small amount into a pie, and that's used to pay out customers.
And sorry for the stream interruption there, guys. It was a bit jittery. Now we're back online. Matthew Dwyer's gone, thanks for going to Bathurst, Jim. This is why I come back to the group.
Thanks, Matt.
Refugee call centre is operational. They've been working from home from now some time and doing a great job, so it's fantastic.
They have. They've done a great job. They're a really great bunch of ladies.
Okay, now this is one from YouTube. If the call centre is closed, there should be reduced fees. Angelo McGill from West in franchisee. It's not closed, the call centre. So
not closed.
They're off site.
Yeah, there's no difference at all. You wouldn't even notice the difference unless you came here and had a look and there's nobody there. There's no difference at all.
And Justin Tranter's gone in from Jim's Fencing. G'day, Justin. Do we have a sense of when governments will update their formal advice to align with the Premier's stance? Which is a good question or point.
That's what I've been asking for. I've said it again and again into the media. Just give us clear guidelines as to what to do. Not just have to listen to what the Premier says and try and interpret it. Let's have some clear guidelines. Let's have some consistency. Let's have some leadership.
And then G. Casey's replied to Jenny saying, we're not affected in Queensland as we aren't in lockdown. Please don't cancel your services. Absolutely. I wouldn't say, the local franchisees of local family businesses, please keep them going. Jeff Carroll, due to stage 4 restrictions, are you unable to mow lawns in Melbourne Metro? Yes, we're not allowed to, according to the rules.
Well, not according to the rules, according to the Premier.
Sorry, according to the
the
Premier,
rules
sorry.
say you can. The law says you can. The Premier says if you try to mow lawns, we'll smash you. I mean, that's basically the situation because I've decided that mowing and cleaning are not necessary and important, unless you happen to work for the government, of course, in which case, of course, you're a different...
And Michael Ribbon's gone great work standing up against incompetence. Then Sarah Cripser says, would have the light cleaning, would it be essential? As they can disinfect services to help promote people start fresh, sending good wishes from WA. Yeah, that's what...
Of course it is.
We thought.
A lot of the work that our cleaners do is actually cleaning up to prevent infection. And the government says, okay, to actually reduce infection, let's stop cleaning up. Which is insane because the virus sits on surfaces. Somebody coming in with the proper disinfectant, cleaning it up properly and professionally is the best guard against it. We've made this point again and again and again, and yet the Premier simply says, no cleaning.
Yeah, they go on with the fogger and it's actually helping.
Which is actually against all the best medical advice there is.
I'm not ignoring your weight as well. I can't. It's just so many comments coming in as well. Dave McDonald says supplies in Melbourne will be getting close, so it might be hard to get stock soon if NSW can't get freight soon. 2 weeks to get stock from Melbourne already. Absolutely, stock for it's going to be interesting.
It will be difficult. And
Emma Sarah said the thing is that there is anything in regards to gardening and cleaning that urgent and cannot wait 6 weeks. Not in regards to people with additional needs.
No, not according to what the Premier says. Unless you happen to work for the government, if you're doing the parks, then you're okay. But an NDIS or a crippled client or anybody else, no way. It's just not possible. You can't distinguish it. You can't separate them out. There's no way of doing it. There's no way of providing service to those who need it or emergencies. If you shut the businesses down.
And Chisel's gone, here, time to throw your hat in the ring, Jim.
I don't think I make a good politician.
Oh, no, I was going to say, the poor, and us internally as well, we feel like a political team today, didn't we? With advice on what's going on.
I do feel very political, actually. It's amazing. You would think from some people that we're not very popular. I have so many people. I've never ever seen such an outpouring of support and congratulations and thanks from so many people. Mostly outside of gyms, by the way, because most people, it's a very fragmented business. People, they see somebody standing up for them, and it's not just for our guys, it's for the industry as a whole. And they appreciate it, and it's great.
Then Stephen Booth goes, hi Jim, I suggest you have a meeting with the Premier to obtain clear guidelines and share with the 4,000 franchisees.
As if he'd tell me. I don't think he likes me very much.
Yeah, he did refer to him by name today. He goes, I know that business owner or something like that, rather than saying the name. Peter Witt's gone, as a Jim's mowing franchisee in Regional Vic, I really feel for you guys in Melbourne. It just doesn't make sense.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, here we go. Richard Keeps, hey Jim, who the heck do you think you are, mate? You should be setting an example of good behaviour and not behaving like a super selfish, profit-focused something.
Yeah. I'm looking after my franchisees. I'm looking after the community. I respect that you think that's different, but the best medical advice there is, including when the stage 4 guidelines were drawn up, somebody quite intelligent was involved in that, and they looked at all the different categories of work, and they carefully calculated where you can get infected. And things like lawn mowing would be very, very, very low down. So this was extremely well thought out, probably over weeks, to minimise the risk of infection. And it was a very carefully designed plan. And the Premier went through that with a steamroller. It's nothing to do with my profits. Do you really think that a little bit of income from a few franchisees is going to affect me personally? No. But you think of franchisees who've just bought a business and whose income is suddenly cut and they've got no resources and stuff. There's some very needy people out there. And there's tens of thousands out there too. These aren't wealthy people. They need to be considered. Just because you've got a nice fat job in Spring Street or you're a top lawyer or something and your income is... Those people get looked after well enough. What about the battlers? What about the ordinary people who are hurting from this?
And then Divanka's gone, Jim, I've taken a cleaning franchise and I'm a temporary resident and not eligible for JobKeeper or job seeker payments.
Absolutely.
Is there any way to support us?
No, there isn't. What can I do? What can anybody do? It's a horrifying situation. It really is, and I feel for you so badly. I know others in the same situation too. You'll get nothing.
Then Sharang's gone, obviously nobody would intend to get caught on the wrong foot, but out of curiosity, what made you change the decision you made yesterday for taking the responsibility of paying the fines in regards to stage 4 lockdown restrictions?
It was made very clear to us that the government would come down extremely hard on us if we didn't, and the law doesn't matter in that case. That's really the honest truth of it. I won't go into the details, but it's made very clear that we have no choice. The Premier's whim is law.
Then Nitro Jack's gone, so do we get leads as usual? Yes, if you're not inside Melbourne Metro and you're not, absolutely, it's business as usual. Con Sonus has gone, thanks for trying, Jim. Milan Bogdanovic has gone, Jim, I think it's a good name. Jim, just a question. If I work for myself and do handyman jobs, so that is not allowed for me to make any type of income. Am I correct on that?
Generally speaking, based on the Premier, probably not. But honestly, it's very hard to tell because the law doesn't mean anything anymore. If you looked at the stage 4 guidelines, yes, you can. Because if you're a sole operator working by yourself on a site, there's no question. So in that sense, I'd say yes, but who knows? Honestly, who knows? Nobody knows. No, the state MPs don't know, the bureaucrats don't know, and the Premier doesn't know, and he doesn't know until he opens his mouth. So,
and Dwayne Paisley has gone, Jim, can I or should I continue to mow for commercial customers who are staying open and NDIS disabled clients who need lawns mowed to ensure OH&S compliance at their site?
No, you can't. You can't. It doesn't matter how needy they are. You can't do it. He said emergency, like he mentioned a tree falling across a driveway. Well, your NDIS clients, no, you can't do it. It's insane, but that's what the Premier's saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments in here, guys. Thanks for the comments. There's 330 people watching now, which is great. I'm not ignoring them. It's just a heap of comments coming in the feed. I'm trying to go as fair as I can. Pierre's gone here. I think it's amazing how Wesfarmers blackmail the government by saying all their staff will be fired if they're not allowed to trade. So the government changed their stance and allow them to stay open. What about all of us?
It's because we're fragmented, and that's the point about our kind of industry. It's a huge industry, the home service industry, but it's not centralised. I'm the single major figure in the whole of the country, so I speak up for the people who can't speak up for themselves.
And Dave Rump's gone, and some comments here as well. So David, I'll keep going here. Eric Jurgens, I'm still able to operate and will be driving through Melbourne. I have my permit, so I'll be fine and pulled over fast. Also, in the answer to comment that said Jim's was only concerned about the money, he was prepared to pay the fines out of his own pocket. And Darren Singleton's gone, where do we stand if we notice a totally different fence company has photos of our work on their website? I'm flattered, but I'm thinking my fencing work. So people snick photos all the time, Darren. I don't think there's not much we can do. There's probably not.
We can write letters and so forth to complain about it, and we do that quite a lot. People who misuse our IP, but it's pretty feeble. You're not going to take them to court about it.
Yeah, and Paul Monkley's gone, hi Jim, I'm a Jim's franchisee and spoke to Business Victoria today and got told I was able to continue business as usual, but my partner rang yesterday and got told that it was not allowed.
As I said, it's a total shambles. There's no law, there's no regulations, there's nothing. It's the whim of the Premier. What can I say?
There's a lot of confusion like that, Paul, and it's really sorry to hear that. Okay, here we go. Nicole's gone, what happens if a building company replies on our cleaning as they supply equipment to the hospitals? So if you do, what if a building company relies on our cleaning as they supply equipment to the hospitals, which would be an essential service?
Who knows? And
Karen Leanne's gone here. It's against the Constitution 1901. They have no authority to shut us down. Dave McDonald, I actually believe that we need more lockdown like NZ. When we get to 1,500 cases a day and 40 deaths a day, it will be too late. Remember the mower?
I don't really. Sorry, that bit about the Constitution. I don't really agree with that. I think that when you talk to people like crowded restaurants and stuff and music venues and stuff, we absolutely should have probably done it earlier. It's a case of sensible. How do you achieve the maximum effect in slowing the virus with the minimum hurt? And I think people who say it doesn't matter how much people are hurt, doesn't matter how much it costs, doesn't matter how much child abuse, doesn't matter how much anything goes on, you've got to do everything you can. That's just a foolish attitude. There's always got to be a balance between the two, which is why, again, I think that stopping people mowing lawns, it has the massive impact with trivial, if any, effect on infection.
Then NZ, Malcolm's going, just to clarify how we did it here in the NZ with the level 4 lockdown. Everyone had to stay home, no work. We did it the time 6 weeks, most survived, a few casualties, everyone complied. Now we have no active cases that are all public and all current and in isolation to come from overseas. And what do you think about that, Jim, about the 800 people who weren't at home when they went around who actually had COVID? It was a disaster as well, wasn't it?
Look, my opinion is this isn't going to stop it. It's too widely, since it got out through the quarantine debacle, which the Premier oversees, it's in the community now. I don't think they're going to stop it. It's going to be like other countries. We can flatten the curve. It's not going to be eliminated. It's just not going to be. It's already getting into state. It's already going into New South Wales. You just can't stop it.
Then Michael Welch's gone, hey Jim, I have a mowing business and I sent an email to all my clients regarding the next 6 weeks. I had a great response and plenty of support. Some even offered to pay for 2 to 3 future mows in advance.
That's good. You've got some great clients and you must give great service, and well done to you. And
that's fantastic on there as well. That's really good to hear. Sean
it's a good idea to keep in touch with your clients and let them know what's going on too. I'd suggest that to anybody. It's a good idea. Explain that you can't. The government shuts you down, but you haven't forgotten them and you're back as soon as you possibly can in September. And
that's very cool. They're offering to do the prepay of the services as well, which is like what similar people did with takeaway businesses when they shut down, prepaying for vouchers and stuff. So
yes,
that's really good to hear. Sean Daly, so Jim for Premier then? We get asked that a lot. Then Taylor Alcott responds to Ashley, "We aren't employees. We are all independent businesses." Because Ashley said, "Why are you telling your employees to work?" So let's make that clear. They're not employees.
No. We never told anybody to work, actually. I told them they could work. There's never any question. Even when I said we want people to continue, franchises were saying we don't feel comfortable. We said, fine, you stop working, we'll suspend your franchise, suspend your fees, no leads, no nothing. There's never any question of us telling them to. The question is really whether you can be shut down.
And Con here, sad day today, Jim. I had to lay off my staff for 6 weeks at least. Very hard to do as they're great guys, work hard and very loyal. Was disappointed to hear that they'd been confronted by a few people in the general public questioning them on why they were working. Now that's what do you think about that? People calling each other out when they don't understand the things. I think it's a bit. I've heard that a few times, which I feel sorry for people as well.
Yeah, I don't even know why they say it because it doesn't actually come in place until midnight tonight anyway.
Oh, that's true, actually. And then Milan's gone here, Jim, question for help. If I work for myself and it's my only source of income, how can I make money?
You can't. Well, not according to what the Premier says. You can't.
And then Justin Tranter, what has the response from the government regarding sole operators being exempt if no contact with Joe Public, as per their advices, which includes mowing, cleaning, fencing and tenants,
you are
etc.?
exactly right. You are precisely right. It's in the stage 4 guidelines. It's officially done from the Department of Health and Human Welfare and Welfare. It's clearly said that you can operate, but the Premier says, stuff that, you can't. I mean that's why we don't have a rule of law in this country.
And Mike Davenport, this is a nice comment, Mike. Am I our training manager? Jim, how much pleasure would it give you to breach and terminate the Premier? Would you put him into retraining?
No, I'd say it'd be so hopeless he wouldn't be worth retraining.
Just straight termination would be the one there.
Oh, straight termination.
Good to see you jumping online too, Mike. Hope you keep
Mind you, I don't believe the Premier could last 2 weeks as an independent business. I think the guy's completely clueless. He's a smarmy, smart politician. You know what I think caused this, actually? He was ignorant of his own guidelines. He just didn't know. And he spouted off at a news conference about mowing and cleaning, having no idea that was actually something that was allowed. And when he said that, he said, well, which is more important, me saying sorry and going back on my word, or tens of thousands of Victorians out of business? I know what's more important, my ego, my status.
Well, when we read it, we thought, and then that comment came out, didn't it, in the press comments, a Q&A, the journalist, he didn't even think, he just went, use that as an example.
He didn't know, he made a mistake.
Yeah.
And he'd rather throw tens of thousands and cost billions of dollars to the economy than admit he made a mistake. This is the kind of low person we've got. I cannot tell you how contemptible I find his behaviour. And
then Jim's bookkeeping keys, brothers. I'm a bookkeeper working from home anyway, so I won't notice a lot of difference except for a couple of clients. Hopefully stage 4 restrictions will get COVID under control.
Good luck to you.
Bookkeeping, glad to hear, and thanks for putting in the comment. Eric Jurgens, I'm also very concerned with the fire risk as spring approaches, also with the risk of chimneys that need cleaning now.
Yes.
And then
I think you'll actually see people having serious injuries and even deaths because of the fact that we're not able to maintain their homes and so forth. People are going to be slipping, they're going to be falling, they're going to be trying to do gutters themselves. There's all kinds of damage that's going to happen to the community. There's going to be diseases running rampant because of all kinds of things. Pools are going to go bad and become sinkholes. I mean, it's going to be really, really bad. And people often forget too that actually, in fact, a lot of the deaths that are a result of the virus aren't from the virus. It's for the fact that people distracts people from other things. They don't have certain forms of surgery. They don't get proper medical treatment. There's a lot of very bad effects from the. That's why when people say lives only doesn't matter about the money, well, money is life.
Then Hayder Hussein's gone, the cleaning group's still operating and our franchisors will be there to support all the franchisees. Absolutely. I know you guys will be having a lot of meetings and supporting your guys especially as well. Steve Mills, Jim, the guidelines said you can mow and clean only if it's for an essential business. NDIS would be fine, but everything out of that is pretty simple. No.
But how do you define essential? How do you define? Why is an NDIS person essential rather than an elderly pensioner, for example, who is far more frail? And an NDIS person might just have a bit of a depression and stuff. Who defines what's essential? Basically, it's up to the Premier's whim. There's no guidelines.
And a lot of people are saying, here's one sort of comment from Michael King. It's a pretty big one, but he says, my question for you is, why do you feel that a loophole in which most businesses can find within the new rules makes your services an exemption to the rule? As an Aussie, isn't it important that we show that we're all in this together?
It's not a loophole. It's the actual guidelines that are in there, put out by the department. In fact, if you look at the actual heading, right at the top, there's this statement, if you are a sole operator on a site, this is right at the beginning. This is not a loophole. It's the core of it. It's like saying the Australian Constitution, well, the fact that the states are all forming one country is a loophole. It's not. It's the core of the whole idea. And because these guidelines are actually, I really suggest you have a look at them. They are very cleverly drawn up. Somebody's gone to a great deal of thought to think where exactly is the danger. And obviously a sole operator working by themselves is zero risk to the public. And bear in mind too, if you throw a person over, you say to a gardener who's working by himself, zero risk of infection, you must stay home. What's he going to do? He's going to go for a walk. Now with a mask, I hope, or he'll go for a run without a mask, or he'll go and buy fast food, or he'll go to the bottle shop, or he'll go to the supermarket. All these activities are far more dangerous to him and to the public than going out and doing his job. So we're actually not reducing infection, we're increasing them by doing this. And that's why these guidelines were drawn up the way they were. Yes, a sole operator working by himself or herself is not a danger to themselves or anybody else. That's absolutely obvious and clear.
And then Aaron Harrison. So Aaron Harrison, mowing franchisor, says, "Hi Jim and Joel, maybe worth saying to the public and clients that have decided to cancel their services to think twice, as they will not be hurting Jim, but will be impacting the franchisees and their family, who are everyday people just wanting to support themselves."
I don't think there's a lot of people will be cancelling, maybe one or two. But the fact of the matter is we've got hundreds of thousands of unserviced leads. And it's going to be, when we come out of lockdown, it's going to be even more so. I will guarantee that the rate of jobs will not drop as a result of this. I offered, actually, one of the franchisors who was talking about it, I said, I'll give you a $10,000 bet that when this is all over, we're getting more leads per month than we've ever had in the past for the same period of the year.
But also, so, I mean, you're right in a way. Franchisees are independent local family businesses, so if they think they're hurting, it's hurting that family business. So we'll keep going on there as well.
We had a bit of a problem with Alan Jones where people objected to advertising, and honestly, there was the ruckus. We got more negative out of that than we've had out of this one, and the number of actual leads and the jobs didn't even waver. It just kept on rising.
It's true. Christy Jering's gone, "You must not question Comrade Dan Ott's the gulag for you."
That's right. Not yet, but I reckon that's the way we're going.
Yes. Then David Wilson's gone, "Shout out to Jim's Mobile Mechanics. Our thoughts are with the Melburnians."
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Here we go from Amol. This is going, "I understand fencing is classified as construction, but construction services cannot pick up new jobs and can only work one site for the duration of the lockdown. Most of the fencing jobs only last 2 to 5 days at latest. So how do we know if we can keep going?"
But right at the top, and if you have a look at it, right at the top it says a sole operator on site by themselves. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's completely covered. All right. So according to the Stage 4 guidelines, if you're a fencer working by yourself, not with a team, working by yourself, then you're okay.
And Susie Gibbs has gone for the comment. A lot of people watching Jim's Dog Wash to see what Jim's Dog Wash did as independents to see how they would react to the situation. She said, "Thank you for sort of almost doing it from behalf of, I guess, people in a way, weren't you? Those small other independent businesses in the similar home services." Then Helen has gone, "A difficult day for our household. 6 weeks Jim's mowing suspension, and I have most likely lost my job with Virgin. Thanks for standing up for the Jim's Mowing franchise yesterday. Your hands are tied and you did as much as you could. Thank you."
Thank you. We'll continue to fight too, actually. I'm not shutting up about this. I think that we need to put some pressure, if nothing else, to make sure that he doesn't keep on doing this forever. Because if somebody who has no knowledge, no contact with ordinary people and ordinary small businesses, I think he needs to be reminded that actual fact we're all voters, not just the bigwigs in town.
And Nikki Patterson's gone, "Totally agree. The franchisees are the locals that we have been encouraged to support. Absolutely. Please support them. They're not employees. The franchisees probably have employees, but they're local businesses as well." Okay. Then Katrina Jabsey's going, "Maybe we should start a new franchise, Jim's Bottle Shop." Well, the bottle shops are still open. Yeah. What do you think about that?
That's right. It's okay to go and buy alcohol, but not good enough to go and help out a pensioner by mowing their lawns and clearing their gutters. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Now, Tony's going, "He strongly disagree with what you have to say, Jim. You have to get this thing under control before it affects the whole country and kills more people."
I would absolutely agree with you if this was going to achieve that, but it won't, and it will not have any effect on infection, but it will hurt a lot of people. That's the whole point. What is the way to do it? Do you shut down an activity that has zero risk of infection and hurts tens of thousands of people? Is that the way to do it? I'd say no. Let's focus on the things that do cause infection. And we know what causes these infections. What are they? Abattoirs, care homes, cruises, big family gatherings, churches, singing groups. There's lots and lots of ways known to. I have never heard of anybody ever being infected by mowing somebody's lawn, especially when they didn't even see them. How could they be? So why don't we focus on the stuff that really going to make an impact, and not shut down the things that have no impact on infection at all?
Then Darren Drager's gone, I want to buy the Monopoly game, but apparently you can only pick them up from the head office. No, it's not the case, but we can't.
You can't pick them in because the head office is closed.
Yeah, but you can't order online until September 13. Okay, and then Ali Rez has gone, I have Jim's mowing franchise. Am I allowed to do gutter clearing? It is essential for the roof leaking. If the roof leaking. So he's saying it's an essential service if the roof's leaking.
We don't know.
We're not sure, Ali, unfortunately.
We seriously don't know. You can't rely on anything in any official guidelines. Everything is the whim of the Premier.
Yeah, and then Trent Wilson's gone. We read out all the comments. I'm just reading everything. He says, Jim's having a great sook. How many times has he said the word Premier tonight? Yeah. Said it a few.
Lots, and I'll keep on saying it. Sorry.
I know. Well, we'll read out your comments. That's what we're trying to do, good or bad. Reese Crouch has gone, what is your take on completing on-site renovation work already started in a vacant home? From Reese.
Well, this is according to the guidelines, and I can only say that, yes, you can do it.
Then Jim's Dogwash has gone, Charlie, we cannot, at the moment, we are shut down. Please send a PM on the page and we'll pass on your local groomer can book you when they reopen. So please maybe pre-book services in Melbourne Metro for people if you can.
I don't think there's any question about Dogwash. It really is a service. You have to have some contact with the public to pass the dog over, and it can't be considered essential. I don't really argue with that, and that's pretty clear. It's other divisions to get me annoyed.
Tammy May's gone, totally agree with what happens. If it's a lot longer than 6 weeks, they need to stick to the same story. And then here we go, Jimit Patel's gone, if you have a contract and if you've received a work permit from them to provide service to their client, can we attend those clients as they are all past 80 years old?
Who knows?
You know.
I know I keep on saying it, but how can you when there's no rule of law?
Then SM Knobs going, you guys are doing a great job. Speak up so people at the back can hear. Ignore the unenlightened that mock you. They believe whatever the media feeds them. So some comments like that. John Formosa, maybe if the Gyms Group was part of the Belt and Road Initiative, it may be different. We got to go off at a gym today for that one, John. That's good.
If Chairman Xi in China was on our side, I'm sure Dan Andrews would listen very carefully.
Malcolm Bradley's gone, NZ had the wage subsidy. That's got us through all the lockdown, which is a big important thing for NZ as well. Okay, and a lot of people are saying similar comments to John Formosa on here as well. Thank you for telling the truth. Jim's another one. Heidi Shren's gone, antennas are still operating within the guidelines as telecommunication services are an essential service for phone, data, internet and free-to-air TV services. Andy Blackwell's gone, Jim's had a few beers. Doesn't drink. Definitely hasn't had a few beers.
I hadn't had a drink of alcohol for 4.5 decades. So
there you go. Brad Shear's gone, thank you for standing up for your franchisees. More effective than any union conversation. Maybe not all positive, but at least there's a conversation now, which I think is a good comment. Really good comment. Then there's a few more comments here. John Render, this is Glenda's John wife. We are all in this together. Absolutely we are. Here we go. Stuart Rainbow. Hey guys, here late, been on the phone. Wow, what a crazy 48 hours. Thanks for all your efforts, Jim. Stay strong, franchisees and franchisors. It's only for 6 weeks, not 6 years. We'll get through this. If anyone needs to talk, don't hesitate to contact me. I don't mind which division you come from. Really nice. Then Nicole Drake's gone with, what about aged care packages who need lawns, pathways maintained?
Exactly.
Wouldn't be an OH&S issue if their hoses won't maintain non-contact.
It certainly would be an OH&S issue, but whether the Premier will let you do it is another matter.
And Steve Mills has gone, but the mower also needs to go to the petrol station, the mower shop, the survey for lunch. They travel.
Of course they do, yeah. But then again, you can actually, when you go to a petrol station, there's ways of doing it. You actually pre-punch in the amount and you can fill it without actually having any contact. There's ways of doing it without contacting anybody.
Let's address this comment. We always do in transparency. Stefan Pedersen, you are a disgrace. Jim's Mowing has an annual turnover of $500 million. Surely for the safety of many that you can put your franchise fees on hold and financially help your franchisees with the money they make you. You are part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Well, yes, but 500 million is what our franchisees make. Maybe a couple of % of that comes to me. I mean, I'd like to have a whole lot more, but if I had 500 million personal income, it'd be very different. The
2 sentiments online are that I think you're a big, greedy, rich man and it's all fees to you, which is obviously incorrect.
It actually goes, most of the money gets held by the franchisees, of course. Something like about maybe average 8% goes to the franchisors. Most of that goes to the franchisor, call centre, advertising and things like the IT technology fee and so forth, and then balance comes to us, and out of that comes all of our costs. So really, it's a sort of a trickle down. Yeah,
we had a few Ivory Tower comments today in the old penthouse on the Gold Coast, mate.
And by the way, too, if a franchisee cannot work, we absolutely always suspend their fees. And we also suspend the franchisors' fees too, so we make no money out of it at all.
Unlike the other mob in NZ who did not do that.
Yeah, Greenacres. They were charging fees to the franchisees who couldn't work, which is outrageous.
Then Emma Saras has gone, so yesterday you said you would pay fines, but today you said you can't help your franchisees who are out of work. Why don't you use the money you were going to pay fines with to help them instead?
Because my legal advice is there will be no fines to pay. That's Channel 7 kind of managed to...
they twisted a 20-minute thing.
They twisted it to say that, because the reason I said we'd pay the fines is because I'm confident that we had the law on our side. And I still think we do, actually. If we were fined for doing something that the Stage 4 guidelines said, then we would challenge it in court. We would fight it in court. We would refuse to pay them on behalf of the franchisee. It's not the threat of fines that closes us down. It's basically just extreme pressure from the government.
Then Howard Joe's gone here. Why am I allowed to clean for community in-house council services but not privately? So why is he allowed to clean for community in-house council services but not privately?
There's no logic. Ask the Premier if he'll give you an answer.
And Stephen Boots has gone, hi Jim, take the Premier to court who isn't in line with the law.
There's been discussions about actually taking... I've been corresponding with a number of very interesting people online over the past day, and there is actual talk about taking legal action against the Premier for what he's done.
And Dan Kayla's gone, thank you for all your efforts, Jim. You're the voice for us little guys. I'm proud to be part of this franchise.
Thank you.
Which is great to hear. Thanks for writing that comment. Dina Majan's gone, doing cleaning. We can clean houses without the client being home.
Of course you
Cleaning
can.
and sanitising their homes is essential. We're in Canberra. We also do commercial jobs that rely on our work, which is true.
It's true. A very large proportion of the work done by cleaning franchisees there is actually particularly aimed at keeping safe from COVID. And Premier Dan says, no, the way to stop infection is to stop cleaning, which is against every bit of medical advice you could possibly imagine.
Then Eric Jerrigan's saying, will you still be on every week? Yes, we're going to still do this every week, and hopefully for the Melbourne Metro ones as well.
The guidelines specifically allow for broadcasting of social media, which is what we're doing.
The internet broadcasting, I think is what it's called, but we're going to...
Yeah, internet broadcasting.
We'll make something up. It's important, I think, that we keep doing this during this time. Then Dave McDonald says, how many confirmed cases of COVID in franchisees are there?
I've heard of two. Two.
Right.
But as far as I know, neither of them had anything to do with their jobs. They're all family and other connections.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. That was one from David Awesome. Then Mel's gone here, you're awesome, Jim. Lots of Aussies supporting you right now.
Thank you.
Then Craig Dennis says, people do cancel their mowing services. They will not be able to find anyone else when we first get back to work. Very good point.
No.
My mowing business will not be servicing new clients or blue mooners. Clients that are on our auto book will be getting priority.
Yes. I'm sure the backyard, a lot of them will still be going out operating, because how could you pick them? They're not signed or anything. They're just driving around. But what can you do? There'll be plenty of work once you get going, especially if we're coming back in spring. Presuming it is only 6 weeks, then there'll be so much work you won't be able to cope with it.
The Michael has gone, I've dealt with other franchisors and been in the franchise world for some time, and must say the support that is given from yourself as well as my franchisor has been remarkable and canny to compare.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, mate. Okay, so Milan's gone here. Jim and Joel, question, do you know where I can go to find out more info of whether you can work in the public? If they don't make any money, how would you be able to stay in the house that the bank still owns? You know, it's very tough, Milan.
I wish I knew. Nobody knows. If anybody in the industry would know how to do this, I would, because we're actually better resourced than we've got lawyers, we've got everybody. We can get all the advice we can. We just don't know because the whole situation in Victoria depends on the whim of the Premier.
Wade Aston's gone, hey Jim, in other news, I'm considering accepting being a franchise. I need to see if I can get some unserviced leads reports on car detailing and cleaning, please.
Absolutely.
Send an email, wadejim@jims.net, please. That'd be great. Okay, Jims, you should get all the franchisees' ID cards. That's an interesting one from Anusa. You should get all the franchisees' ID cards. So there's an exemption, I think, for ID cards or something like that. But I think that's only for nurses or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think that'll help us. There's a form that you can fill in yourself as a worker and as the boss and so forth, which may give you some protection if you stop. But I can't really tell whether that'll happen. Then
Dion Henderson's gone here, get Dan Andrews on live and have it lay out with him direct. Gee whiz, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
I don't think he'd be too happy. I would really like to tell him what I think of the way he's behaved. I think he's a shambling incompetent. I think he's the worst Premier we've ever had in the state, and that's saying something.
Eric Jurgen says they also said not to take cash, and yet to my knowledge there has not been a single case transmitted through cash handling worldwide. Yeah. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think it's one of the least likely ones, but I still say be safe. I mean, we've given our franchisees, and I'd say across the country, take electronic payments. Don't go anywhere near the customer if you can possibly imagine. I don't care if you're in Tasmania. I don't care if you're in New Zealand. electronic payments are a great idea.
The Malcolm Bradley, Jim, any activity that is possible risk to others, i.e. mowing, you have an accident that now requires an AMBO, etc. Now you're bringing someone else into the bubble and possible transmission.
Yeah, you are. But if you walk down the street, you're also transmitting too. I mean, you can't be totally. All I can say is that of all the possible ways you could spend your day, going out alone mowing somebody's lawns is probably the least likely of anything you could do with your day to cause any sort of problems.
Then, hey, and Mike Danforth's going to, hey Joel, what are your thoughts on how we should handle our social media campaigns over the next 6 weeks? What about advertising on radio and TV? Well, if it's for Melbourne Metro, I don't think you do much, because if you
what's the point?
What can you do? And plus, it's in this sort of situation, you're probably best just to not do anything for a while and let it blow over a bit. Mike, would be the thing. But come spring, I know our guys are going to be flat out and we can do things in place and create assets.
Don't forget too, there's no advertising anyway. There's no advertising money because franchisees are not being charged fees. So
correct. But we can definitely help out. We've got a lot of assets on hand to give everyone a boost, bang, once we can start taking work again as well. Then Mel's gone, so many do not agree with these ridiculous restrictions. Paul Jones says, thanks, Jim. Best thoughts are with you guys. I live in NSW and hope we don't get shut down as well. I have a mowing franchise that I love and I've got 2 young kids.
Yes, I really hope for you too.
Then Gary Herzog, okay, now this is an interesting one here. Just trying to get here. Instead of needlessly ruining the livelihoods and lives of thousands of workers, how about these governments lock up the muppets who are breaking quarantine and spreading this horrible virus, which is a good point.
It's appalling. You know, you're people who are actually completely defiant and they go through and they're just allowed to go through. The demonstrators in Black Lives Matter is appalling. I just couldn't. I was shocked when I saw that.
But
and they said no.
I think it's not played up enough though, Jim. You've got tested for COVID, you're told to stay at home. Yeah. Yet when they go and check you, 800 people are missing.
Yeah.
Like, where's the heat on those people?
Well, what about people who refuse to be tested? I mean, where's the government taking a heavy line on people that really, really, really matter? If you put your efforts into things that have that much risk, you wouldn't worry so much about things that have this much risk. Come on. Let's have some leadership in this country, in this state.
The Narran Party's gone, we're going to keep pushing on with our work permits, COVID SWMS, and we'll see how we go. We'll let you know. So Aaron's from Jim's Antennas.
Yes.
So we'll see how we go as well. And then we've got a few questions here as well. Anusa's gone, can we still work to clean kindergartens and offices? Plus franchisees should have an ID card with a name and have Jim's Group or Jim's Cleaning. I don't know about kindergartens and offices.
Who knows?
Who knows? Just keep checking online and referring questions that we don't want to...
Aren't the kindergartens shut down anyway?
He said a lot of stuff about kindergartens and babysitting today. So I don't know, there's some changing on that coming. So end of Friday, I think he said he's going to have everything finalised, but I don't know about that. Then John Formosa's gone, big shout out to Rocky Mowing for all the hard work he's been doing over the past few days for mowing in Vic.
Yeah, Rocky's been good.
Kim Tran, on your last point, Jim, I wouldn't expect you to pay a fine for your franchisees, but would you support them legally if they did receive one, even if following the government guidelines?
That's in a sense what I was offering. I wasn't expecting to pay the fine because I had legal advice. I had 2 separate lawyers advise me, and they said if you follow the guidelines from the government in writing, you cannot be fined. So if anybody tried to take us to court, that's what we would have done to defend it.
And then Howard Joe's gone, can anything be done to ask for a change on sole traders that have been forced to shut down to receive the business payment? Why does it matter if I'm by myself or have one employee on JobKeeper to receive the 5 to 10k assistance?
What can I say?
And Nicole Draves in Melbourne, antennas deemed essential under the Telecommunications Act, which is good. Then Dave McDonald says he won't talk to Neil Mitchell, so he won't talk to Jim P, which is in regards to Daniel Andrews.
That's right. Neil Mitchell's a good guy, actually. I had a good interview with Neil.
That was a good one with Neil. He let you go for a bit, which is not unlike. Very unlike Neil Mitchell.
I like the guy. I've spoken to him before. I think he's got some good points to say. He's a guy unlike our Premier who stands up for the little guy. He really does. He's a good man. I know we wouldn't agree with everything he said, but still, I think he's a good guy.
And Peter Woolsey's gone, how much hair has Jim lost in the last few days? It's probably more me. I've lost it, buddy.
Actually, I can't stand to lose too much more, can I?
Yeah, I think my eyes are all black from up.
Actually, I'm pretty tough. I think the thing that hurts me most is just my franchisees suffering. I find that very hard to cope with when you get these letters from people who are so desperate. And what can you do to help them? I mean, we can say to them, listen, we're not going to pursue fees if they're a bit late and this kind of stuff. Obviously, we'll do anything we can to help you out.
And Matthew Bethel's gone, what's going on with the course being in Melbourne, given the COVID situation? Can we do it anywhere in Queensland?
Online. It's all online.
Yep. Online, the full course is filmed, so you can keep doing it as well. And Miles gone, thank you for all your hard work and information, Jim. As a summary, would you say that we cannot operate the fencing business if we work in a team?
I'd say that'd be pretty dicey. If you're starting a new fence, if you're working as a team, I don't see anything in the guidelines that allow you to do that.
The Mark Withers guy. Mark Withers is a former mowing franchisor. They do have electricity in Tasmania, Jim. G'day, Mark. And then
Actually, Tasmania is doing pretty well. Good on you. Keep
Right on.
out these muddy infected Victorians.
I know we're not getting a good reputation around Australia, are we?
No, we're the plague capital of the country.
We're going to be a joke for a bit. Brianne's gone here. Can we do NDIS cleans or not? I'm hearing different things from different people. It's incredibly confusing. Brianne was,
don't ask me. Ask the Premier. If he'll reply to you, which you probably won't.
and Peter Wolseley's gone, Jim, with all your research, do you believe in the anti-mask movement going around?
The anti-mask movement? No, I do not actually. I had somebody approaching me today. They sent me an email talking about how it's a breach of the Constitution. I said, I totally support masks. The only reason I'm not wearing a mask now is because we're broadcasting and that's allowed. We are very rigorous. I believe in masks.
We got them here.
It's a very, very minor inconvenience to save lives. Considering the potential of shutting down tens of thousands of small businesses, why not do something that actually has a much bigger effect than saving lives and costs nobody anything except the cost of the mask? We are totally supportive of masks.
There's a lot of questions in STEMI going as well. The sole trader has been removed from the guidelines. I'm regarding downloading it daily. That's what Heidi said. So apparently the sole trader has been removed from the guidelines.
Well, that's what obviously the Premier's done. He wasn't aware of the guidelines. He made a mistake, which is clearly what happened. He just blurted off and he said, rather than admit I'm wrong, let's throw a few more tens of thousands of Victorians out of work. That's the political calculus. What do you say about a guy like that?
It's full on as well. And there's someone's gone, are you the original Jim? Yes.
I am. No beer, but it's me. This is me here.
And I had a few of those comments when they saw Jim in the interviews. Dave McDonald, I listen to Neil Mitchell every day. He does a good job. Have to listen to the ABC and the Arvo for a COVID break. Absolutely. So there's lots of stuff going on as
I
well.
must say ABC hasn't been too bad.
The ABC article is pretty fair.
I know I sometimes say bad things about the ABC, but I got to say they've been pretty fair about this. They've let me have my say, and they've just given it a fair go.
The Aaron Party's gone, yeah, okay, all the best to keep working for sure. Lawn mowing, we're just awful situation for so many. Good luck and best to you as well. That's interesting with Heidi though. The guidelines have been removed, which is quite interesting as well. And what about mental health, Jim? What are your thoughts on that whole sort of thing? It's very important to people and especially a lot of stress now.
It's going to be a major problem. It really will be. And there's no doubt that lockups and costing people their jobs has a mental health effect. It's like this whole common idea. It's 100% for safety and 0% concerned about money, employment, everything else. But money and employment affects it. Actually, losing your job is one of the major triggers for mental illness. It really is. And we're going to find a sharp spike in mental illness over the next few weeks going on in Victoria.
Well, here's one stat. 250,000 kids in Victoria have a parent with a mental illness.
Yes.
So I feel sorry for the kids, to be honest. So the kids live with...
And they're not, and they're stuck at home.
Correct. They're stuck at home with an unstable parent and stuff, and it's a nightmare. So... Brianne Francis, so will you be pausing franchise fees given we can't get a determinative answer if we can work or not, and most likely can't?
If you can't work, there's no fees. There's no question at all. Absolutely no question. Never has been a question. If you cannot work, then we'll suspend your franchise and your fees automatically get suspended. Exactly what we did in New Zealand. There was never any question of any other way of doing it. Now, if you say, I could work, but I choose not to because I want to spend more time with my family, that's different. We will charge you fees.
Then Vanessa's gone Jim for Premier Victoria. We've got a lot of that as well from Vanessa. G'day, Vanessa. Taylor Alcott with a suggestion. Why not arrange some accommodation for a bunch of the worst affected franchisees? Send them to NSW with 2 weeks of isolation instead of the 6 weeks of no work and get their unserviced leads covered by these guys doing it the hardest. I don't know how that would go. It's a big exercise, that one.
Well,
that's a good suggestion.
They'd have to live somewhere. I mean, I'm okay with it. I mean, one of the things we did during in the past is we got people doing cross-divisional leads. So people who were shut down from one division, like Test and Tag, could go out and do unserviced mowing leads and so forth. And that actually worked pretty well for a lot of them.
And Kim Tran's gone, thanks for answering, Jim, and entering my earlier essays of an email from Kim Tran. Appreciate the support and proud to be part of the Jim's family. Then Ray Gatt's gone here real quickly. Can I finish the artificial grass I started tomorrow? Got no idea.
Probably not.
All right, guys. So Jim's got to get going to another interview as well at 8:30. 300 record numbers tonight with franchisees and Zors. And sorry if I missed your comment. It's just insanely. There's a lot of them tonight. And I've tried to get through as much as I can.
Thank you to franchisees. Anybody wants to contact me, jim@jims.net. And if you're a franchisee, you also have my phone number. Happy to talk to anybody about anything.
Okay, we'll leave it there, guys. Next week, Wednesday at 7 o'clock as well. Make sure you jump on. If you've got questions, please stay in touch and stay safe. Thank you.
Wow.
A lot.